Well, it's Saturday. Slashback Saturday. How's it going, guys? It is Rob. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I'm getting back onto these Slashback Saturday videos. I'm actually kind of late to the party because this is my very first Slashback for the year 2020. I've just been really behind on everything, it seems like. But I'm going to start it up, and this week's theme is YouTube name slashers, which was very interesting. Basically, you take the first letter of your YouTube name and review a movie that starts with that same letter. So, my YouTube name is Rob's Collection, so I have to find a slasher film that starts with R. And that was actually really tough because for the life of me, I could not find a slasher movie that starts with R. There are movies that start with the word the, but that's the letter T. So, I don't know. I finally found one, and it just popped in my head. Even though it's considered a psychological horror film, this movie has a ton of slasher elements. And the movie that I'm talking about today is Red Dragon.
Dear Doctor, I have admired you for years. I wanted to tell you I'm delighted that you've taken an interest in me. I don't believe you'll tell them who I am. Besides, the important thing is what I am becoming. I have some things I'd love to show you. Until then, I remain your most avid fan.
Two families killed a month apart in their homes. These attacks were highly organized. The victims carefully chosen. This one is gonna go on and on.
That's the same atrocious aftershave you wore in court.
I need your advice, Dr. Lecter.
If you recall well, our last collaboration ended rather messily. How is young Josh and the lovely Molly? They're always in my thoughts, you know.
So it's true the Lecter's actually helping with your investigation.
We may have a little over 3 weeks before this freak does it again.
I might not have time.
I do. I have oodles. You want to know how he's choosing them, don't you? This is a very shy boy, Will.
I know what it's like to have people always thinking that you're different.
He is refining his methods. He is evolving.
What am I doing here?
No one will ever be safe around you, Will.
A note hidden in Lecter's cell.
The killer wants Lecter to answer him through the personal columns.
Lecter gave me your home address.
Hi. I'm a friend of your father's.
Open your eyes.
No.
I am the dragon.
Give me what I need.
Before me, you tremble.
I'll call you if I think of anything else. Would you perhaps like to leave me your home number?
Now, before I start this review, I just want to give a huge shout out to Joe the Horror Man for creating the Slashback Challenge. You know, I watch every single Slashback video he does, not only to find the theme, but just because I'm interested. He always lists a lot of movies that I either haven't seen or heard of, or haven't seen in a while. So, very, very cool channel. Go check him out. I assume all of you who are subscribed to me are probably subscribed to him. But if you're not, go subscribe. As you can see, I have pretty much the whole entire Hannibal Lecter series. We got Manhunter, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Hannibal Rising, and we got Red Dragon. Red Dragon is a 2002 psychological horror film with slasher elements, like I said, and it's a prequel to Silence of the Lambs. And it was originally adapted into the movie Manhunter, which I actually like more than this. It was directed by Brett Ratner, and of course you know his reputation with all the sexual misconduct stuff, the allegations against him, but he actually did one of my favorite action comedy movies, and that was the Rush Hour movies. It was written by Ted Talley, who did the screenplay for Silence of the Lambs. So if you watch this movie, it does feel like Silence of the Lambs. Had a $78 million budget and made $209 million at the box office. So this movie made money. And I think half of the reason is because they got Anthony Hopkins back to play Hannibal Lecter. Because in the movie Manhunter, which came first, had Brian Cox. And Brian Cox is great. Do I prefer Anthony Hopkins over Brian Cox? Of course. Anthony Hopkins has that way about him. Okay, he proved that in Silence of the Lambs. But Brian Cox, he's one of a kind as well. There are just certain things about Manhunter that I like more than this movie. Sometimes in this movie the story kind of falls flat. You got a good cast. Anthony Hopkins, Edward Norton. You got Harvey Keitel, you got Ralph Fiennes, you got Emily Watson, Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace. Basically about an FBI agent, Will Graham, who's played by Edward Norton, is seeking the help of Dr. Hannibal Lecter to take down this killer called the Chesapeake Ripper. Now, the Chesapeake Ripper has this reputation, okay, of basically removing body parts and that are edible and eating them as a form of cannibalism. Well, he soon finds out that Dr. Hannibal Lecter is actually the Ripper, or the killer, so to say. There's a confrontation that happens in the beginning, which is one of my favorite parts of this movie. And Hannibal pretty much stabs him and disembowels him. He just, like that, he just, and he's sitting there talking to him. I mean, Lecter ends up going to jail. So now we know how he got into jail in the first place when it comes to the movie Silence of the Lambs. You know, he actually did something to one of the orchestra players in the beginning because he missed a note. And Dr. Hannibal Lecter doesn't like things to be out of place. He does not like that. So what did he do with that person? Well, he pretty much killed him and ate him and fed him to other people. That's what he did. Years go by and there's another serial killer. He's known as the Tooth Fairy. And he's killed like 2 families. And so he seeks help again from Hannibal Lecter, who's in jail. Now here's what's interesting about this. This came, this was made after Silence of the Lambs. So Anthony Hopkins would be older. But this is supposed to take place before Silence of the Lambs. They made Anthony Hopkins look really, really good. I don't know what they did, but honestly, he did not lose his touch at all. Watching this movie when he's behind the cell, it was like deja vu. It was like, honestly, reliving Silence of the Lambs. That's how good that was. I mean, he played it just, it was fantastic. The Tooth Fairy guy, his name is Francis, and he has an alternate, personality, so to say. He calls himself the Great Red Dragon, and that's where the Red Dragon comes from. It almost seems like Francis is a likable character, but then he just he pulls a 180 on you, and you don't really know what to expect out of him, because there's this woman involved, and things just start to happen. This movie is really good. There's some parts where it kind of falls flat, like I said, but my favorite parts are with Anthony Hopkins. That's it. That's who I want to see, is Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal. That's why I love Hannibal so much, is because that movie is about him. After he escaped in Silence of the Lambs, that movie is about him totally. I mean, it's great. Not the biggest fan of Edward Norton, but I will say his performance in this was really good. Everybody's performance was really good. That's one thing I can take, a real big positive when it comes to it. If you have not seen Red Dragon, I definitely recommend that you watch it. It's definitely, like I said, a highlight of the Hannibal Lecter franchise. So, yeah, that is my review for the Slashback Saturday. And I want to thank you all for watching. Stay tuned, because I have more videos, more reviews. I also have a tag video that I'm working on. I'm also doing the top 20 for 2020 coming up at the end of the month, so stay tuned for that, which Joe, the Horror Man, and Horrific Nightmares JM are behind that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.